I guess this is a CAPTCHA. Let's give it a shot. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech. Today we're talking about updating firmware for your Viltrox lens. At least we're gonna try. It's been giving some of my backstage members some difficulty. So the very first thing you're gonna wanna do is go to viltroxstore.com. Once you get there, you'll notice firmware update in the navigation menu on the right side. What I see right here is an update for the 75mm f1.2 lens. That's this one right here. What about your other lenses? How do you find firmware for those? I'm assuming that you click on this tiny little link right here called firmware update. And if I click here, it now takes me to a completely non-English website. I have no idea what it's saying. I'm assuming maybe this is a link, but I don't know what these steps are. And yeah, it's my ignorance. I can't speak this language. But I mean, come on, this is the United States you're selling this lens in. You need to have it in English somewhere on your website. And not only that, in the navigation menu, what do I click on to see the other lenses? If I click on APS-C, the little plus, okay, I'm getting somewhere. We've got 85mm, but this says lens profiles. This says firmware 75, and then this thing just pages off into oblivion all the way, I guess, to 7 pages, 9 pages, 11 pages. I mean, this is not organized. It's difficult to find the firmware update for the lens I want to update and to do it quickly. I mean, hire a usability person, have them watch this video and clean this up. Please make it easier for us to update the firmware. But getting back now specifically to the 75mm, let's go ahead and try to make the update and see what happens. I'm assuming, once again, this is the firmware download for it. I'm going to click on it. I guess this is a CAPTCHA. Let's give it a shot. Okay. I am assuming the blue is the right one. Okay, you see there it is right here, which, okay, looks like we found it. Let's take a look at it now. I'm on a Mac right now. Inside the folder, let's take a look. Okay, this is good. There's a few files here. Firmware update instructions. It increases my autofocus. That's good. It tells you what it's gonna do. Where are the instructions? This tells you what the firmware is gonna do for the lens. Where are the instructions on how to install it? Not here, apparently. Okay, there's a Mac version for upgrade steps, if I click on that, and that pops open a PDF, okay. Half of it is in English, but all right. And I'm assuming this is Windows. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Yep, that's for Windows. So that one's Windows, that one's Mac. You labeled Mac, why don't you label Windows, Windows? That way they're each labeled and it's easier. And by the way, the actual firmware file itself, it's not these PDFs, but rather this DAT. You see that right here? The DAT file, that's the firmware, and that's the one you need to transfer and add into your lens. And let's do it on a Windows machine. I've been doing Macs a lot in this studio, and I think the Windows people have been feeling left out. Plus, that awful, awful Ventura operating system makes me want to jump out a window. So I need to kind of get away from the Mac for a little bit and use Windows. So now I've got the DAT file on my PC running Windows. The very first thing I need to do is take the bottom off the lens right here and a USB-C cord. One end of the cord plugs right into the lens itself, and the other end goes into the computer. When you do that, you'll see a Viltrox drive appear. And this is very similar to plugging an external SSD into your computer, and you can double click on it to open it up, and it has one file inside called device information. It's a simple text file, and if you open up that file, you can see the version, the software, blah, 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 blah. And according to this, it's software version 1.0.0. And if we go back to the firmware download page on the Viltrox website, I'm guessing it's this right here, 1.01. Okay, so far so good. And basically all you're doing is you are dragging the DAT file from your computer, from your desktop, onto the Viltrox lens, mounted drive. So basically I'm doing that right now. Here we go. And if I double click the drive again just to check it, I don't see it. It's disappeared. You see that? I dragged it on there and it disappeared. I'll do it again. Here we go. Dragging it on, dropping it onto the Viltrox drive. There it goes. Watch what happens. There it is. I didn't touch anything and it just disappeared. So here is the confusion, and I think what's tripping up a lot of people. Once you drag that DAT file onto the lens, you would expect to still see it there, right? I mean, when you drag and drop a file from one folder to another, it usually stays there. But what happened in this case was the Viltrox lens itself did the update it was supposed to do. And once it was done, it self-deleted the DAT file right from the lens. And just to prove that, if you go into device information and you have a look at this, there it is right here. Now it's 1.01 beta 4. And if you look at the Viltrox instructions, it kind of does mention that. With replication completed, the Viltrox PFU disk will withdraw itself and update progress starts, which lasts about 5 seconds. So this actually works perfectly. Viltrox, good job. And you actually save the users a step from having to remember, oh yeah, I gotta go in and right-click it and delete that DAT file straight from the lens. But nevertheless, I can see how this is confusing users, and I think you can make this process a lot easier if you clean up your website, make the documentation consistent, put English screenshots for English-speaking users, and just overall put a little more detail into the firmware update process. Have a list of the various lenses, each firmware, what the latest version is, and the date, and so forth. I mean, to be clear, Viltrox, don't feel like I'm picking on you. Godox is far worse. I actually started shooting a video and was gonna do a thing where while I was updating my Godox flash units and firmware and things like that, if I ran into any confusion or problems or couldn't figure something out, I was gonna drink a shot of bourbon. The problem was, I didn't get very far. I didn't even get the thing updated. It was such a convoluted website, and anyway, that's another video for another day. I'm not gonna make it now. Pal to Tech Backstage family, I hope today's video has been helpful or somewhat helpful for you. If you have tried to update that Viltrox lens and the DAT file is no longer on there, check that text file and make sure that you have that beta entry for the latest upgrade, you know, listed right in there. And Viltrox, you make wonderful lenses. If you don't believe me, go check out my latest review of this 75mm lens. But you need to up your game with your website, and let that be a lesson to all camera and lens manufacturers. You can have a website, you can have an app, that's all fine. It saves you a lot of money from hiring help desks, and you can just refer people to pages with frequently asked questions and all that other stuff. But if you're gonna do that, put some effort into your website. Make it easy to use. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found the video helpful, or at least you know what it is. Entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I'll see you in a new video very soon. Take care.